Awesome. So welcome everybody to this Founders AMA between Pocket Network and Fuse. We've got Mark Smargon, who is the CEO at Fuse, Michael O'Rourke, who is the CEO at Pocket Network, and Shane Burgett, who is the solutions lead at Pocket Network, here to discuss the recent collaboration that's taking place between the two projects. It's a collaboration that has been underway now for a few months. We'll jump into it immediately. If we could, we'll start with introductions, and we'll start with introductions from the three people, from Mark, Mike, and Shane. If Mark, if you'd like to start and just give a bit of background about yourself and your journey so far in the world of crypto and blockchain.
So me personally, been doing this for 9 years. Since I first bought my Bitcoin, bought one Bitcoin for less than $100 in 2013, and started a company immediately after that that will improve the process because it was terrible. We got licensing. One of the first companies to get licensed in Israel to sell Bitcoins. Then a year later, we closed this and opened another company called Colo, which was doing colored coins, which is basically trying to do NFTs, do stable coins. All those ideas didn't have a name yet, and blockchain was not an industry yet. We called ourselves Bitcoin 2.0. That was in 2015. That company still exists, pivoted away from blockchain, and me and my team sort of spinned out completely separately, raised money 2 years ago for Fuse. So the last 9 years were about, figuring out how to use blockchains for payments, for stuff that are a little bit more traditional as a cash replacement. The original Satoshi paper said Bitcoin is a cash system, cash ledger, a cash alternative, and we tried to test it in the real world. It didn't work. Then built colored coins, also on Bitcoin. It was a little bit early for that, and Bitcoin is not really suited for this. And for the last 5 years, we've been building on Ethereum. And Fuse is really, implementation of all those ideas. My background is e-commerce. This is what I did, started my first company 20 years ago, 21. And this is why I see Fuse as like really my expertise in e-commerce and payments, and trying to figure out how to use blockchains for that. It's not that straightforward, but we do believe it's the future. So that's very briefly.
Excellent. We'll jump into Fuse in a second. Michael, if you'd like to give a brief introduction about yourself.
Yeah, sure. I also bought my first Bitcoin in 2013, having read a Wired article, except I bought it $600, not $100. So well done there. But yeah, I fell in love with the space once I found out about Bitcoin, went down the rabbit hole. I had worked at credit unions for a couple of years selling loans, had seen thousands of credit reports, and saw how really fucked up the system was. Being from the Caribbean, I've sent money to my family using Western Union, was, paid a lot of attention to the Occupy Wall Street stuff in 2007, 2008. So I was, properly radicalized by the time I discovered Bitcoin, one could say, in 2013. I took a different route. It took me a while to get full time. It really wasn't until Pocket that I came full time into crypto. In fact, I was pretty much a Bitcoin maximalist for a while. I remember watching Vitalik present Ethereum in 2014 in Bitcoin Miami, and it's just like, oh, this is vaporware. No one's going to use this. And it wasn't until 2016 that I started writing some smart contracts and deployed my first smart contract, and I was like, just mind blown. This is incredible. It's going to change everything. So, my background, I actually studied international studies in college, wanted to be a diplomat, learned to code before I graduated, and, was an iOS developer for a while. And, 2016, started writing some smart contracts, used a service I'm sure we're all familiar with called Infura, and from there started seeing really this kind of full node problem with Pocket. And it's been roughly since 20. We incorporated the company in 2017, and it's been a fun ride since then, and up until here we are today. So
amazing. Shane,
try to keep that as brief as possible for you.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Shane, would you like to give a brief introduction about yourself?
Sure, absolutely. My background has been primarily in marketing and not in the crypto space. And then in 2018, I was then voted in by a DAO to be director of marketing for a small blockchain project called Blocknet, and I did that for a year, and that was my first foray into the blockchain space on a professional level, and what a way to jump in, where each month my paycheck is essentially voted in via proposal from the rest of the network. So it was jump straight into fully decentralized organization work right from the get-go. And then I joined Pocket at the very beginning of 2019, and have basically been with them since. And yeah, basically just doing business development at this point, kind of transitioned from just strictly marketing to business development at this point. And now I'm working with applications, figuring out, what's a good solution to their infrastructure needs, when it comes to connecting to different blockchains and things of that nature. So yeah, that's basically my background on how we are where we are today in terms of myself and Pocket.
Excellent, amazing. Thanks for sharing, Shane. We'll jump into each of the projects. We're working with two different audiences here, two different crypto communities, that being the Fuse community and the Pocket community. So let's try and keep it relatively simple, in fact, very simple in terms of the explanations. But Mark, if you'd like to start by attempting to explain Fuse to us as if we were 5 years old.
So we believe that all the money in the world will be used on mobile devices. So eventually all the money will sit in every user's mobile device. And the future of financial services is open source. And our thesis behind the startup is really, there's a lot of discussions. There's really the business case. We want to be a decentralized Stripe. So if people are using Stripe, Square, Plate, PayPal, they pay a fee, which is usually pretty high. It makes it really not relevant for to be used as a cash alternative. People don't, settle with their friends using PayPal, and those infrastructures are really good for like larger companies and companies that sell with high margins. They take 3%, and integrating to Visa directly is also complicated, very fragmented. In some cases, a lot of the developing world doesn't have Visa. So we're here to build a network for payments that is cheaper, easier to integrate, open source. And the thesis behind the token is really the idea that we can take this business case and build an ecosystem around it, incentivize early participation, and fund security on the network, and really grow this into a Stripe alternative. And I think that's the easiest way to explain it without getting too much into it.
Excellent, thank you, Mark. Mike, I'll turn to you. Could you explain Pocket? I know it's not easy, as if we were 5 years old.
Yeah, I'll give it a go. So we, if you've ever played Minecraft, we are like the blocks of materials that you use to build the houses and the towns to protect yourself in Minecraft. We're kind of the core infrastructure, if you will, that connects an application and the data that the application needs. So that's about as high level as I can get there. Really, it's a way to connect developers with the blockchains they're building on, and really trying to make that as easy as possible. Moving up a little bit higher, maybe a little bit older, with a little bit of crypto knowledge. Really, we incentivize people to run full nodes for any blockchain. So applications like, good dollar on Fuse need access to RPC endpoints, and Pocket provides the infrastructure for that to be able to happen in the most redundant, reliable, and cost-effective way possible. So,
okay, awesome. Just to sort of dive a little bit deeper then into the partnership itself. I believe it's been at least a few months now since we first started working together. What was how did the partnership come together initially? Where did the initiative come from?
Yeah, I think I was introduced to Isaac a while back. It's pretty clear, in the crypto space, it's pretty clear when you're chatting to someone when it's like your kind of ideals are aligned, just generally. And we stayed in contact there. I know we launched Pocket and really stabilized things and reached out to Fuse and kind of just started workshopping what it would look like to work together. And Fuse has been incredibly gracious and really fun to work with, to be honest. But really, it just comes from sharing, I think, ideals and the way that we view the space more than anything.
So I remember you had a newsletter that you sent like a year ago or 2 years ago, and we were featured there. So I think that was how I first got to know you. Also, there's not too many projects that are like just building, don't necessarily do too much noise, and it's really relatively straightforward to see what they're building. And we've seen a lot of projects that like come into existence and disappear within 6 months. But when you're talking with somebody and is keeps on building a year after year, then you know that something will come out of it.
Yeah.
Especially when you find a need, something that we can actually use, not just announce we're collaborating, like also a lot of projects are doing.
Yeah. I think that was the infrastructure newsletter. Shout out to Alberto for doing that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shane, I'll turn to you. Could you talk about some of the the 2 or 3 sort of main milestones, how this has been rolled out over the past few months, some of the key things we needed to do? You can get a little bit technical if you like.
Yeah, absolutely. Pocket's mainnet launched in July of last year. So we're just over a year old in terms of mainnet. And when we first launched, we were primarily Ethereum in terms of infrastructure. We were able to provide infrastructure to applications in the Ethereum ecosystem right off the bat, and that also includes archival as well. And then a lot of our connection with Fuse started to kind of materialize earlier this year, where Fuse has been running your own like public RPC infrastructure, so that applications that want to be able to use Fuse, have basically an API that they can use to connect to the Fuse network without having to run their own Fuse node or something of that nature. And so the original conversation, starting way back, basically in February, was, hey, is there a way where Pocket can come in and add Fuse, because we already are supporting Ethereum. We have Ethereum applications that are utilizing Pocket to connect to Ethereum. Is there a way we could, do this for Fuse's ecosystem as well? We one of the cool things is to right off the bat, we provided the Fuse team with an endpoint to Ethereum because Fuse runs their own their own bridge between Ethereum and Fuse. And so we provided an endpoint, and they started using that endpoint kind of right off the bat to connect to Ethereum. And then from there is, okay, how do we onboard Fuse's entire network and incentivize Pocket nodes that are already running Ethereum nodes to now also run Fuse nodes. And that's where, since February, that's where our conversations basically led us to. Over the summer, we ended up doing our first hard fork, a Pocket hard fork, our first one, to basically enable new features so that we could start adding new chains really quickly and efficiently. And so it's been a work in progress kind of for a while, but then basically in July, early July, we got to the point where we were able to whitelist Fuse on the Pocket Network, which pretty much right from the get-go, we had thousands, literally thousands of Pocket nodes spin up Fuse infrastructure, meaning now there are thousands of nodes all over the world that were supporting Fuse right from the get-go, basically upon whitelisting. And then applications started utilizing us, and we've been working closely with the Fuse team because they've been using our endpoints now in a lot of internal applications. A lot of the apps that were using the public RPC endpoints are now utilizing Pocket instead, which is great because the Fuse Foundation itself doesn't have to run all this infrastructure, for free to support the ecosystem. And now we actually have nodes all over the world that are running Fuse nodes. And it's really turned into, honestly, one of the most robust infrastructures in any crypto project, because once you have thousands of nodes running infrastructure for you, you're just kind of on a whole new level in terms of redundancy, in terms of resiliency that then the applications can just easily rely on. So it's been super exciting because a lot of the larger applications that have been using Fuse are now utilizing Pocket and seeing awesome service. They're really happy with the service. We're working with them independently, one-on-one, in order to ensure that everything is super smooth on their side and their applications are able to connect to Fuse in a perfect manner. And so far, we've just been absolutely ecstatic. Our node community is super happy because of the increase in traffic. They generate rewards every single time they serve a Fuse request. So the more Fuse requests there are, man, the happier our node ecosystem is. And so it's just been this awesome marriage where more applications are starting to use Pocket when they need to interface with Fuse, and then that just brings more traffic to our nodes, which generates more rewards for them and ultimately incentivizes then even more nodes to come on board because there's rewards there, right? So they're incentivized to spin up Pocket nodes, incentivized to spin up Fuse nodes, and ultimately it just keeps feeding. It's a infrastructure ecosystem that just keeps feeding itself. And it's been super exciting since the full whitelisting that happened this summer, and kind of where we are today is just absolutely mind-blowing. So Fuse has been an awesome partner to kind of kick off transitioning from only supporting Ethereum to then supporting these other new blockchains. And Fuse was literally the first one that we were adding, and it's been super exciting since.
Amazing.
And
Thanks.
And I have to add that first of all, it's been surprising also for us and very beneficial. Just to give you an idea of how severe the situation we were before moving to Pocket Network. We had something like 10 million calls a day. We immediately needed to scale our RPC servers. We also needed to create like a separate RPC, like an internal RPC and a public RPC, load balance it, because we had DDoS attacks recently, which is a good sign. It means that spammers take notice. Usually, it's a good sign. But also, we had to run our own Binance Chain infrastructure, Ethereum infrastructure, paying Infura, paying other players in the space. There's a lot of companies that do it. And the Pocket Network is the only solution I know that that can bring a lot more. First of all, drop the price and reduce the cost. Maybe that's the most important thing. But also those infrastructures are not all of them are the best experience. So creating there's a lot of money to be made, because really those projects are sometimes extremely expensive. They only save you, the hassle of spinning it up. So definitely comes at the best timing possible.
Awesome. Thanks for explaining that, Mark. Just another question for either Shane or Michael, because we've been very clear on the huge benefits for Fuse Network and the communities such as Good Dollar, and also the DeFi applications that are running on top of Fuse, the benefit for those, that being decentralization and therefore security, essentially, therefore taking away central points of control or authority. Just to understand the incentive a little bit more, or more importantly, to understand for non-Pocket Network community members, if they wanted to get involved and also run nodes on Pocket Network, where would they find that information? Where would they go to find out more about being part of that infrastructure?
I think Shane is probably the right person to answer this question, considering he's also working on a project to make it easier for people to run nodes. So,
yeah, we right now the best thing to do is to join our Discord. Pocket is currently pre-exchange in terms of getting Pocket tokens, and that's primarily because we were building the utility of Pocket prior to releasing on any exchange. We kicked off mainnet, heavily focused on building, getting our node count up, which we totally smashed our goals for that within 6 months of launching mainnet. And then our focus was, okay, we've got a healthy amount of nodes. Let's now focus on the application side. So then we had been working with applications to get them onboarded using Pocket, and in that whole process also was then adding new chains, which is where Fuse comes in. And now we're kind of at the point where we're now transitioning to we're looking at different ways that people could acquire then the Pocket token to utilize with either for applications that are needing infrastructure, or people that want to run infrastructure and generate rewards. And so we are currently working on a bridge right now, a wrapped Pocket bridge, and that will be we've got some exciting news with that coming up in the next few weeks. And then so right now we have some OTC markets where if people want to spin up Pocket nodes and spin up Fuse nodes, you'd have to have a certain amount of Pocket in order to be a Pocket validator. And so we have some OTC markets that are available. And so really the best way to do is to join the Pocket Discord. We have got an awesome community that can provide you with direction on how to get started with a Pocket validator. I myself am part of a project that's also making it easy to spin up Pocket validators and Fuse nodes. It's called Node Pilot, and it basically with just one line of a one-line bash script, you can start setting up Fuse nodes and Pocket validators entirely through a GUI. So it's just super easy for even new non-technical people in the crypto space that want to be a part of infrastructure and want to be a part of generating rewards. So anyway, so there's a number of different options. The best way to go about that would be to just join our Discord and just start asking. And then we will have some pretty exciting news coming up with a new Pocket bridge that will bridge between, at least to start off with, Ethereum and the Pocket Network, but then that bridge, we're going to be expanding that to all sorts of other ecosystems. And the great thing is Fuse is EVM compatible, so there's actually it'll be super easy to also then create that Fuse bridge as well, which is going to be our kind of our future goals with what we do with our bridges.
Amazing.
I'll just add just add a little bit to that. 15,000 Pocket. If you don't want to run your own nodes, we got a bunch of node providers that do it. And in fact, there's a rumor that someone in the community is building a kind of a shared node service provider. So instead of needing to have all the Pocket for one node, you'll be able to share that revenue in proportion with the stake, which is pretty cool. So.
Sorry, and what's the 50,000 Pocket for?
15,000 Pocket is the minimum you need to stake for a node in the network. So,
amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anyone part of the call, feel free to ask questions in the chat, and we'll try and answer them later. If there's no other individual comments from the speakers at this stage, then I'll go to some Twitter questions that we got. And the questions I asked will also be the winners of the sort of the question bounty that we had. It comes back to what you were just talking about, but I'll ask the question again concerning Pocket Network in particular, about the token and the various different things that can be done with it. Obviously, running a node and the 15,000 that you need to run a node there. How should it be seen? How should the Pocket Network token be considered?
Yeah, so there's two reasons to use the token. There's two ways to use it. One is as a node to stake, and that's what gives you the right to do work in the system. And also, if you cheat or lie within Pocket, you'll get your node stake burned. So that's one side, and they do that purely for economic reasons, right? With the incentives. The other side, what we call the demand side of the network, is for applications. So, for example, using Good Dollar as an example, right? They would be paying usually a monthly fee to some service provider. In Pocket, what we do is we ask them to just stake our native token to the network. So we have a node stake and an app stake. The key difference here, and this is what really makes Pocket kind of Web3 native, is that your Pocket doesn't get burned when you stake it. So you are literally turning your infrastructure into an asset in this respect. And what Mark was referencing about the costs of Pocket, as a result, this ends up being significantly cheaper for developers over the long run. There is a trade-off. For example, we do ask for a higher upfront cost. That's kind of part of the token economics of the system. It's important that more Pocket is being taken out of circulation, being staked, than what's being created. And that's a big reason behind it. But over time, that'll even out actually. But so you have one stake, you own it yourself, instead of having a sunk cost of a monthly fee. The more you use it, the closer your cost basis reaches zero, generally. And since it is a volatile token, it's actually pegged to the amount that developers need to pay. It's actually pegged to the price of Pocket. So that way, if price goes down, developers aren't impacted. They're actually getting a better rate than what the market is giving them. And if price goes up, that same amount of Pocket actually gets them more relays, which is a pretty cool dynamic. So it also keeps developers' incentives aligned with the success of the project and so on and so forth. So
very interesting tokenomic model there. Okay, amazing. So that was a question from Shabir Hussein, who will be winning. He'll be a winner for the Twitter campaign, for the Twitter question bounty. Another question which I'll put to you, Mark, concerning Fuse Network. I might phrase the question a little bit differently just so it's clearer. But what would you say is the killer feature of Fuse, the technology stack, and how it compares to competitors?
So I don't really see too many companies that are trying to push for non-crypto users. So our killer feature is really our ability to replicate experiences that people know from their bank. When they use Venmo or WeChat or any other traditional finance mobile app or payment wallet, usually crypto is much more complicated to use. So we're trying to really create an experience for non-crypto users, out of the box, they can just plug and play their own currency, their own community, their own business logic, and deliver something on mobile, whether it's using our mobile wallet SDK or actually using the mobile wallet itself. We have a library that is being used more and more lately, which is completely open source. Client side, server side, everything is free. And the only thing they need to pay for is fees to the network. And basically their customers don't need to touch the Fuse token really. The customers can do transactions behind the scenes. The operators of the wallet are covering their fees. So we're building a very different product. It's more for a software stack that people can use, plug and play. With almost no installation cost and without necessarily being technical. So that's a big challenge, you know, trying to push this technology. So far, it's been mostly comfortable for developers to use and start pushing it for people that are less technical.
Okay, amazing. Thank you. And then just a final question. I'm just taking it directly from Twitter here, sorry. I'll ask this question to the Pocket team. What's the big goal for 2022 for the Pocket for Pocket Network?
Yeah, Pocket 1.0. That's a big goal. So one thing we've been doing is rethinking Pocket a bit in terms of its architecture, its design, to be able to be more robust, to be able to offer more services. So I'll give you an example. Today, Pocket doesn't support WebSockets. Pocket 1.0 will. So kind of rethinking certain aspects of the protocol and migrating over to 1.0 is really the protocol team's #1 priority. Outside of that, really becoming the default infrastructure for every infrastructure provider for every blockchain. So like Shane was saying earlier, we're pretty rapidly expanding to many chains and keep adding new ones every month. We expect that cadence to continue, frankly, speeding up. For example, you can do some really interesting things with Arweave and IPFS with Pocket. All of a sudden, you have a truly decentralized stack with storage and reads, for example. So Arweave incentivizes storage. We incentivize the retrieval of that storage, and all of a sudden, you've got some really fascinating things that can be built there in terms of what censorship resistance. So really, it's expanding to as many chains, providing as best a service as possible, and really behind the scenes working on Pocket 1.0, which we are pretty excited to start publicizing quite soon, actually. So
amazing, thank you, Michael. So the free winners.
By the way, are you just one question? Are you going to support GraphQL, compete with the Graph?
Yeah, so one of the experiments we'll be running is running a few subgraphs or some other derivative of that, and seeing what we might be able to do. So what's interesting about Pocket is that it really works with any openly accessible database. So as long as it's something that anyone can run, it can be run on Pocket. So it's pretty generic in that sense, which allows us for some interesting opportunities and flexibility down the road.
Interesting.
Amazing. Once again, if anyone's got any questions that's what's live in the chat, then feel free to go ahead. The three winners of that Twitter campaign there are Shabir Hussein, John Hiddleston, and I don't know how to say the name here. It's a Twitter handle, but El Jovan. So we'll contact you shortly on Twitter to confirm that. If we don't have any questions on the chat, then we'll wrap it up. Essentially, we'll wrap it up shortly. There is a question from Bertrand here. Is it already possible to run a Fuse validator on NodePilot or Post Network? Are there some running there already? Maybe that's for Shane, perhaps.
Yeah. So currently NodePilot can run validators on the Pocket Network, and we're actually looking to expand that to include Fuse, so that you could actually do validation, run a Fuse validator on NodePilot as well. And really the cool thing about also having having it all under kind of one software, so that you can also run the Pocket validator, is then you can basically generate rewards on two ends, essentially double dipping with your Fuse validator, because you can be generating Fuse rewards from validating on the Fuse network, but then also have a Pocket validator that's utilizing that Fuse node to serve Fuse applications, and then you're also generating rewards from that as well. So yeah, we're actively moving in that direction to include Fuse validation into NodePilot, and so we'll actually be announcing some news about that in the near future.
Excellent. Thanks for explaining that, Shane. To wrap up, if each of you would like to make a final comment and also tell people where they can get in contact with you personally. Maybe start with you, Michael.
Yeah, just generally excited. One thing I thought was really interesting was, seeing the Fuse traffic brought people from the Pocket community to be like, whoa, there's usage on this chain, and what's going on. So I thought that was really cool. And it's really cool to be able to highlight you guys and bring attention to some of the cool things that you guys are working on. So, and just generally, looking forward to these next couple of years as we continue building through, regardless of what the market does. So glad to be working together with you guys.
Excellent. Shane?
Yeah, basically ditto to what Michael had said. It's been really cool jumping into the Fuse ecosystem and seeing kind of the momentum and growth that is happening in Fuse in general. And then the cool thing is then that the more growth that Fuse sees, the more traffic it generates, which then benefits the Pocket community. So we're just kind of at this phase where we're serving infrastructure as best as humanly possible, and then the more that Fuse actually, Fuse grows, and then the applications using Fuse, GoodDollar is a good example of a growing application. We're really excited about what they're coming out with version 2 coming out this summer or this September, I believe. Really excited to see what they're doing there. So it's cool because now we're connected with your community, at the hip, and we're excited to see what each new advancement that not only the Fuse network itself progresses, but then also the different players that are utilizing Fuse and how they're growing. So overall, we're just excited to be a part of a network that's actively growing, that's seeing more usage, more traffic, and seeing some really cool development in areas that are very unique in the crypto space, because Fuse by far has just one of the coolest stacks in terms of ease of use, creating tokens, creating communities around the token. It's just like the whole stack, you guys' website, your docs, everything is just really clean, really easy to use. And so this is just an absolute perfect win for Pocket to be able to come in and just provide infrastructure to basically such a clean and scalable kind of user interface for people that are wanting to try all sorts of new economic models with crypto.
Fantastic. And I'm assuming for both of you, the best place to get in contact with you is in the Discord, as you in the Pocket Network Discord, as you were mentioning earlier. Mark, any final comments?
Yeah. So I think I need to add to what both of you said, that I agree a lot, and really looking back a year ago, it was a crazy year for both companies. I feel like you're our sister network, and we grow together and building different layers of the stack and complementary products, completely different, but we find an actual need. there's not too many collaborations that I can say so far saved us money. So I'm excited about this. Because it's not only a cheaper alternative. This is the way to grow using decentralized services, and we're looking forward to adding more, like moving more stuff over to you to the Pocket Network, and not running anything at all. And John here on the chat asked if we can give a brief review of the top dApp, so I can point you to download the Fuse Cash wallet on our website. That may be the best demonstration of how to utilize the infrastructure that we've built. And just like Pocket Network, when you trade or buy crypto and basically use any of those tools, we recently added Wallet Connect. You can now do yield farming. There's a lot of things that are really, really complicated, because you need to know stable coins, and you need to know lending, and you need to know yield farming, and there's very high fees. This is the first wallet that you can actually show your grandma, and my grandma can use it. It has no minimums, no fees. So really trying to show people how can we build crypto products that are not for crypto people, not necessarily. Anybody that knows Venmo can feel comfortable, or Square Cash or Robinhood, things like that. And we focused more on the infrastructure side, but this dApp gives like really good demonstration from a consumer perspective, and also there's a lot of interesting products that are being built around this space. For instance, food deliveries on the blockchain that is built by people that we will talk about it soon. We have a Airbnb type of dApp that people are building. We don't call it dApp because, again, it's not for crypto users. It's just an app. So yeah, I can go on and on, but you can check out. I think we're going to add a new page for all those dApps that will combine all of them, because right now it's really a bit hard to see. But follow us on Medium to see us talk about it more. We have events and charities, and there's a lot of interesting projects.
Excellent. So we'll wrap it up there. Thank you to the three speakers for their time, and thank you to the, I think, 25 or so people that have been on the call with us today. Hope you all enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are, and look forward to another AMA soon. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was great.
Bye-bye.